Hi, this is Richard Sleigh, and today I'd like to follow up on my last video, which was about creating a harmonica vibrato. Now, here's what happened. I got a lot of feedback on that video, and several people correctly pointed out that what I was doing was a tremolo, a lot more of a tremolo. What does that mean? It means that there are two different ways to get this pulsing sound out of your harmonica. One is called a vibrato, and that is when you're changing the pitch up and down in a way that creates a wave or a pulse that is a rhythmic pulse. The other is called tremolo, and that is when you're changing the volume of the note you're playing. So the note pulses in intensity of volume in a rhythmic way. And they are different things. It's like AM and FM and other phenomena like that. But why is it important to use words correctly? Because it will help you with your woodshedding so that you can isolate these different things and think about them and think about how the harmonica reacts to your voice, to your throat, to your diaphragm, all of that stuff. Okay? Let's talk about tremolo. I was demonstrating in the last video this draw 2, blow 3, and playing a they sound a little bit different, and one of the reasons is because when I play the draw 2, it does bend, it will respond and bend. Whereas the blow 3, doesn't have the same sensitivity in that respect. So you're essentially going from a double reed bend to the blow 3. And the way I'm evening that out is really doing more of a tremolo, a volume modulation. Now, here's another thing that is I find very interesting, which is when I talked about supporting your core and working with your diaphragm. Remember, the diaphragm is this dome-shaped muscle under the base of your lungs. Your lungs are like this pyramid shape that has a bit of a curve, the pieces kind of fit together like this. And there's this dome-shaped muscle that's working the lungs. Now, here's the thing. The bottom part of the lungs are bigger than the top part of the lungs. The diaphragm's down there. The top part of your lungs has got this rib cage that doesn't move nearly as much as the lower part of your belly, that whole area where the ribs are not holding you in. So this is why it's so much more important to think about your lower abdominal muscles, your lower back muscles, and how they just notice what's going on down there, and think about setting those muscles in place to act as an assist to your rib cage to keep the lungs more encased and restricted. Because when you move that diaphragm up and down, your lungs, the walls of your lungs are soft. That's what allows them to expand and contract. When you're trying to control that pulse that you're creating with the diaphragm, you don't want those lungs to move out like that. So it's kind of like there's this piston, piston moving, and if the piston is in a rubber tube, it's going to leak. It's going to, you're going to lose your control. That may not be exactly the right analogy, but just hang in there with me. We'll get this together. If your lungs are held more in place and your diaphragm is pushing against it, it's going to have a lot more compression from the movement of your diaphragm, and more sensitive small variations in your diaphragm will be translated more completely to the airflow going up your throat into your harmonica. I hope that makes sense. I'm sorry, but I can't give you a technical description with all of the names of the muscles and stuff, because it's not something I've studied. I just call them lower abdominal muscles, lower back muscles. You can call them what you want to, but just think about, you know when you're holding yourself in place and when you're relaxing and allowing your belly, when they tell you to do a relaxing breath, they say, let your belly expand and come back, and that's great for that purpose, to help you relax and to breathe more fully. But when we're talking about controlling this air moving up and down your throat, it's not something that works in your favor. So restricting the movement of your lungs gives you more power. Now, an example of this kind of push is, you listen to the stops in Little Walter's Juke, when he gets to that part where it goes, that pulse that's going on there, I really believe he's doing that from the base of his lungs. It's not a tongue articulation, it's not a throat coffee sort of thing. It is coming from his core. And to be able to do that a number of times in a row, keep the pulse, keep the timing, and make it hit hard, is something that you might want to check out and see if you can do. So when you're going from the draw notes, I'm finding in some ways that you can, by exploring the difference between the blow notes and the draw notes, you can get into a deeper bag of tricks, because there are some things that work really well with the blow notes and some things that work super well with the draw notes. And you want to, on one hand, work to make them sound the same, but on the other hand, you can also work to take advantage of the strengths and of the different notes. So, for example, when a true pitch modulation, vibrato, at least from my perspective, is a lot easier to do on the high notes, on the blow bends. For example, I'm going to start slow and speed it up. As opposed to a tremolo. So you can, if you work on this, and I'm just taking my bending technique on that top end of the harmonica and then speeding it up. On the low end, getting that kind of pitch modulation. I find it easier at the like on draw 4 on the low end. Now, when I do that, what I'm doing is I was time blocking that bend, okay? But now I'm working my tongue in this sort of throbbing side by side, back and forth move. You know, that's my tongue. That's a tongue movement. I have the tip of the tongue on the harmonica, but the rest of the tongue is moving. I can also do that with pursed lips. And you'll hear differences in the tone from the tongue block pitch vibrato and the pursed lips. But it tends to work better at the low end. So that's why in draw 2, you've got that flat 7, that cool. And you can really put a nice hefty, and then you can also boost it with a tremolo. And you can layer hand vibrato on top of that, or hand tremolo to be more specific. So this is what we're talking about here, is how do you create that pulse, that kind of life essence, presence of the notes you're playing? How do you give them something more than just I'm playing the right notes? And when you're playing the harmonica, the tone is one of the great gifts of this instrument. It has you know this already if you've listened at all. That's why we all got attracted to this instrument, because it's this voice, this cry. This is all about putting life into your notes. You control tremolo largely from your core with an assist from your throat. You control vibrato largely with your tongue, with the same process that you create bent notes. The same way you bend notes is the approach you take for creating a vibrato. Thanks for listening. If you got something out of this, let me know. You can put comments down there. You can join my channel. You can tell your friends about what I'm talking about. And I hope this gives you some ways to structure your practice so that you can start breathing a lot more life into the notes that you play. Thanks again. This is Richard Sleigh. I'll be back with another video soon. So till then, take care. I'll be in touch.
La